Let's face it, a 1.5% GDP growth rate for the second quarter is dismal, to say the least. And to make matters worse, the Great Recession ended more than 3 years ago. Of course, the White House is doing its best to soften the blow, even going so far as to say it shows the economy is, quote, moving in the right direction, but more growth is needed to boost jobs. You think? Obviously, this could be a roadblock for the Obama re-election campaign and for a spirited debate. I'm joined now by Ford O'Connell, Republican strategist, and Ryan Clayon, Democratic strategist. Guys, thanks for joining me. Ryan, let me start with you. I mean, it's tough to call it a step in the right direction when growth is shrinking from 1.4% to 2% to 1.5%. Doesn't the president sound ridiculous saying that?
Well, for 3 years, the economy has been headed in the right direction, but there's still a lot of Americans out there suffering day to day. You know, the market has recovered. Wall Street has gotten their money back. They got bailed out. But most Americans are still struggling to pay the bills and keep a roof over their head.
So, Ryan, you think that slowing growth is the right direction? Is that what you're saying? That's what you just said?
I think positive growth is the right direction. And, you know, this is really about two fundamentally different visions of the economy. You know, millionaires like Mitt Romney and his Republican allies, they want to give the entire world's wealth to the wealthiest 1% and have it magically trickle down upon the rest of us. But President Obama and millions of Americans, they want a thriving middle class and purchasing power so that people can pay the bills, provide for their family, and, you know, have a little money left over to enjoy life, too.
Ford,
and
you
that's
heard
what he's been doing
slowing
for the last
growth
year.
is the right direction. You agree with that? Slowing growth from 4.1% to 1.5%, that's the right direction.
We have to increase growth, or we're not going to get America back to work. That said, though, we're going to need a wholesale overhaul of the corporate tax code, okay? Because essentially America is not an attractive place to do business for a lot of folks. And until we do that, we're going to continue to sputter along. And that said, though, yes, the Obama campaign is playing defense, but President Obama is extremely likable, and a lot of average Americans think he sympathizes with their plight. This is Mitt Romney's for the taking, but it's up to him to sort of not really play the blame game, but really put together a 4 to 5 point plan for the future that talks about, you know, growth and prosperity for America.
Like what? What are those 4 to 5 points? What would you say, Ford?
One of the things I would do is certainly overhaul the corporate tax code. I would usher in the Keystone Pipeline in the short run, and until we overhaul the corporate tax code, I actually pass the territorial tax system, because double taxing money made abroad is not going to bring it back. That's the only way we're going to do it. We're one of only 6 nations in the industrialized world that doesn't have it. And we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Who's going to bring money in here to invest?
Yeah.
This is a very uncertain market, and that's the problem.
Ryan, Glenn Hubbard, from the economic advisor from the Romney campaign, came out today and said that if we keep up at this rate over the next year or two, we simply can't get back to full employment if we grow at this rate. It's tough to argue with that. How would you argue with it?
Well, first, to Ford's point, I mean, many corporations pay $0 in federal income taxes, like GE, FedEx, and Verizon. So there's a lot of corporations
I say we have to overhaul the corporate
fair
tax code, Ryan.
There's a lot of corporations not paying their fair share, while middle-class families make up the difference by paying more in taxes. And what President Obama is doing is giving most middle-class families and small businesses a tax cut to the tune of like 97 or 98% of Americans in small businesses. And I think that that is one thing that's going to help economic growth. The other thing that's going to do it is putting Americans back to work, whether it's through local and state government or through the private sector. Americans need jobs, and businesses need customers with money in their pockets ready to spend it. That's the only thing that's going to kickstart our economy.
Do you understand that corporations, all corporations, actually don't pay any taxes? They just pass that tax on to their consumers. That's how business works. So if you raise taxes on companies, you're just raising taxes on people.
Well, when businesses make money, they pay taxes on that. And for businesses to make money, they need to sell products and services. So what that means is that businesses pay more taxes as they create more business, as they create more jobs. And those people that are hired with those jobs go out into the local economy and become the capital for small businesses. You know, so one person's paycheck is another person's paycheck when they go out and they spend it in a small business, when they spend it at the local ice cream shop or they spend it at the local sporting goods store. You know, that's what's going to create economic resonance in the economy. But right now what we have is we're channeling all the money to the top 1%, and it ain't trickling down. If that was going to work, we'd be swimming in jobs right now.
Ford, you understand that when you raise taxes on a company like Exxon, they just pass it on to you in the price of a gallon of gas, right?
That's absolutely right, and that's why we can't get rid of the $4 billion tax credit for the oil companies, because if we do, the consumer is going to be hit in the bag with a difference in the cost. I'm well aware of that, and until we create certainty with the corporate tax code and make America an attractive place to do business, we're going to continue with high unemployment. And frankly, you know, Americans can't take it any longer, and they're sick and tired of the blame game. What they want to know is what each candidate is going to do to go forward. They know that we're in bad times. The question is, the first candidate that talks about the future the fastest and provides a vision towards the future is probably going to be the one that wins this election.
Ryan, what's going to happen when we get another bad unemployment report on Friday? What's going to be the president's spin?
I think the president's going to say that, we've spent the last 3 years putting America back on track, while Republicans in Congress and Republican politicians in Washington have done everything within their means to sabotage the economic recovery and stand in the way, because they think that that's going to score them cheap political points and that's going to help them win this year's election. I think they're sadly mistaken. I think most Americans want all politicians to put politics aside and put Americans back to work.
Okay, guys, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for a spirited debate.
Thanks for having us.